All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have been playing with the new metrics for Facebook for lives, and it's a little bit challenging. Um, so I'm glad I didn't use my camera setup. I'm just using my microphone, so I hope everybody can hear me. Um, I'm going to hopefully see everybody's comments and hopefully everybody can join me. I'm going to wait just a few minutes and see how many people jump on before I carry on with this live. It's the first live that we've done in a long time. Um, Unfortunately, I just 2021 was much. It wasn't much better than 2020, to be quite frank. Um, but we're over it. We're into 2022. Um, so let's just move forward and see where we're at. I'm having a problem seeing the new comment section. So if you've made a comment and I'm not seeing it, I apologize. I there. Good morning. I found it. Yes, it's a whole new setup that um, Facebook has. So good morning, Megan. Glad to see you. Sort of. Glad you could jump on this morning. I'm going to go ahead and get started because this is going to be a long live, and I have a lot of information to share, and I know all of you have a busy Saturday. So I want to go ahead and jump on and get started as we have other people join in. So if you have a question about anything that I cover, please jump on and type in a quick note to me. If I don't get to it in this video, I will get back to you. So can you hear me? I'm hoping everybody can hear me because I am using my fabulous microphone. All right, I'm going to get started. Okay, so welcome to 2022. It has been a heck of a couple of years for everybody personally and for the travel industry as a whole. It's been rough. Um, Everybody was very excited to see 2020 end, and then we moved into 2021, and it was like, whoa, is this 2020 part two? Um, it was a rocky year. Some things got better, and some things didn't. In the travel industry, yes, things got better in some ways, and in some ways it was still very challenging. So, where this, the new, there we go. Yes, volume is good. Thank you, Pam. Loud and clear. Good morning, Nicole. Yes, I'm on a roll now. I can see everybody and I can hear. Yes, I'm excited. Okay. So everybody finished 2021 with the great expectations of 2022. We roll into 2022, and what rolls with us? Omicron. So I know one of my friends that's joined us, or one of my friends that is on this video, is suffering from uh, COVID right now, and it's just not going away. So in the travel world, we've have to been very fluid, very flexible, very like a willow. I was talking to a client this morning, and we've had to bend like a willow in the wind continuously um, to make travel happen. So I'm going to recap some things that are going on and introduce you to some changes that we're making internally. And hopefully you can stick around for this whole video because it will be long. Okay. So 2020 rock bottomed the travel industry. 2021, not much better. Got a little better towards the summer, ended on a low point. So we roll into 2022, and I had to do some real serious looking at the business and the business model, um, because economic recovery is just it's not happening. As you all know, we do not get paid until our travelers actually travel. So, we may have bookings on the books that aren't going to travel until 2023 or beyond or 2022, but we're not going to get paid for those bookings. And we've literally been doing a number of cancellations. It's like back to 2020. So, unfortunately, I've taken a new position. Our services are still free. We don't charge a fee to consult with you, to plan your trip, whether it's a huge international trip or a domestic trip, a weekend getaway, whatever it is, we're going to put 110% into researching it and planning it. However, the cancellation of a trip that we've spent hours either planning, researching, proposing, on hold with suppliers, adjusting, modifying, correcting, whatever. My son said, "This is my DJ mic." Yes, it is my DJ mic. So all of those things, we have decided that we have to start charging a cancellation fee for any new bookings made January 10th onwards. So if you have a trip on the books with us already, you're not going to be included in this. And hopefully none of you will be canceling anything. Hopefully we'll just have to, shift things or move things around if you don't feel comfortable traveling in the first quarter or second quarter of this year. So we will be charging a cancellation fee based on the value of your trip. I sent out an e-card yesterday with that information. If you have questions about it, please let me know. This is just basically to recoup some of the time and loss we will suffer with a cancellation that you may make. So it's based on the value of your trip. It's going to be either $50 or $100. Now, given that some of our trip planning, can take us 2, 3, 4 hours just on the research, sometimes much longer, the back and forth communication, the calling into suppliers to get the best rate, to look at all the promotions. Sometimes we spend days planning and proposing your trips. So I think, a small fee, if you decide to cancel, is not unreasonable, so that we can recoup some of the time and loss of our valued time. We can't continue to work for free. Let's put it that way. When it comes to cancellation. Now, cancellation, if you cancel because of a death, an illness, natural disaster, any of those things that you could possibly file a claim for with insurance, then that doesn't count. This is more of a cancellation like, I just don't want to travel. Okay, we get that. We understand that. Completely reasonable. But we can either shift it, or if you cancel altogether, then unfortunately we're going to have to charge a fee. And it's not that we don't understand things, the dynamics of where we're at in the travel industry, but we have to recoup some of our losses. And that's where we're at with that. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. If you have questions about it, email me, send me a private message, call me, text me. I think everybody on here has my number and, feels comfortable enough asking me about that. The next thing that is just a slight change, and it's temporary. As many of you know, my daughter and I started a side business, and that's because, travel's just not back where it needs to be for me to be able to make a living, so to speak. So we started a charcuterie business in October, and it's booming, which is fantastic. And many of you have actually partaken of some of our charcuterie boards, and we love them. So because of that, I've and I typically, I'm a workaholic. I'm a type A. My husband can tell you that. It's much to his annoyance sometimes that, I work a lot and I give everything I have to a job that I do. So on Mondays, for the time being, for January and February, I will not be in the office. I typically work Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes evenings. So I'm going to take Mondays to not only work on, personal projects here at home, but the charcuterie business. So if you can't get a hold of me on a Monday, unless you're traveling, if you're traveling, I'm always going to be there for you, regardless of the day of the week. But if you're trying to get a hold of me on a Monday, I'm not in the office. And this is a temporary thing. I'm going to try it out, see how it works, and hopefully move back to full time hours as Q1, quarter one, comes to an end and things hopefully start picking up. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about the cruise industry. Getting a bad rap, for sure. So I am going to post a couple links to our page here, to our conversation, and these links are just, they're for your information. It's a lot of information I've been sharing on our page already. Um, some of it is new information. Some of it is not really relevant to some of you because I don't, there's a couple people on here who have not booked cruises with us. Um, there's a lot of misconception out there right now that have permeated the travel industry, that cruise lines have been heavily targeted when it comes to COVID. Think back to 2020. What was in the news when COVID started? It was cruise lines, Princess Cruises being stuck out, at sea, with people with COVID on board, etc. All of those things are relevant, but they were relevant in 2020. Where we're at now in 2022, it's very different. So what I want to say is I've cruised, most of you have followed my page, and I've been traveling like a fiend in 2021. I am not traveling this month nor next month as of yet. But that's, it's not because of COVID, it's just personal choice at this point. The vaccine mandates are a thing for cruising. Will they continue into 2022 and 2023? I'm going to say this. So some of the cruise lines have mandated all the way through 2022, regardless. Some cruise lines have actually, and these are more the luxury brand, have required a booster. And those brands typically have clientele that is more at risk, your older clientele, smaller ships, etc. And then some are taking a stance. They were releasing information every 30 days. That was pretty standard. We're going to continue this until March 31st, 2022. Our most popular brands have not extended that vaccination requirement announcement past March 31st of 2022. Is that ominous? Does that mean anything? Possibly, possibly not. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see into the future. But what I will say is one of these articles about the CDC lifting the conditional sailing order and making it voluntary, that may bring some changes. That's no sail order becomes voluntary on January 15th. So will we see some changes after that? Possibly. Maybe not with the Omicron, variant at its head right now, but there might possibly be some positive changes, for many of us. It has been a real drawback. I spent yesterday on the phone with Carnival, unfortunately canceling some April sailings because they were family groups. Um, and I get it. I'm not here to talk about the vaccination and whether it should be required or not required. I'm just dealing with the information that I have in the travel world and what I can present to you as my clients. So, if you take the stance that your children are not going to get vaccinated, that is your personal choice, and I respect it and understand it. But I have to work with the guidelines that are set right now in the travel industry to make the best decision for you. And so, yesterday, that meant canceling some groups that were family groups. Um, the cruise lines are the only travel provider right now that is required to submit reports to the CDC on a weekly basis, daily. No other travel provider is required to do that. So, that right there, the risk of contracting COVID on board of a ship is 33% lower than on land. I have sailed 5 times in the past 4.5 months. I've felt safer, and I don't necessarily have a fear of COVID, but I'm very observant as to, and very understanding of, some people may not be comfortable with COVID and traveling. So I'm very acutely aware of what's going on each of the cruise lines that I sailed with. And I can tell you that sanitation, the mask protocols, the pre-cruise requirements, they're rigid and tight, and they work. So when you're looking at statistics, Royal Caribbean Group announced this week that since they started sailing in 2021, in June of 2021, they've carried 1.1 million guests. Of those 1.1 million guests, there were 1,745 passengers and crew that tested positive. When you break that down into percentages, and testing positive doesn't mean they were symptomatic. Let's remember that. When you break that down into percentages, that is a 0.02% positivity rate. There is no other provider or statistics that could be lower when you're bulking that many people into, a travel venue. I would hazard a guess that the numbers, if you were to take, I'm not, okay, let's step back. I'm not going to guess. I'm just going to give you this information that cruising is a very regulated environment, and the protocols, the sanitation, the testing, all of those things, they've worked, and they've worked successfully. So, I'm just going to throw that out there. Some of you may never cruise, and some of you may be jumping on a cruise ship in the next week. And the hurdles that, are in place to get on a cruise ship, they're much. When I went on the river cruise in late August, early September, not only did I have to meet, AMA waterways requirements, I had to meet the requirements for each country that I entered. So the planning of that, it was a little overwhelming even for me. But I'm here to say that I have never felt safer on a cruise ship than I have the past few times that I've sailed. There is always somebody cleaning. They fog the ships every single day. It was an amazing experience, and they're not sailing at full capacity. Will they start sailing at full capacity in 2022? Well, I posted that link for you to read yourself. So, the knee-jerk reactions in the media to the information that, there were 5 people that tested positive on a ship. They're not including the positivity rates and anything else. So it's a very singularly targeted environment right now for cruise lines, and there's been a lot of advocacy from ASTA, the Association for Travel Professionals, and for CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association, a lot of advocacy, in Washington and just across the board, um, that cruising isn't the bad rap that it should be. It should be not getting that kind of bad rap. So um, hopefully we'll see some adjustments. I know there's some cruises that have decided to cancel. Norwegian postponed the re-entering of some of their ships to service, and that is COVID related, and it's COVID related because staffing, not necessarily because they're fearful of taking passengers. It's strictly staffing. Many of you go to Walmart and other businesses, and there's notices up. I'm sorry, we're short staffed, due to COVID, etc. Well, it's the fact of life right now. So those cancellations and failure to return to service at this time, yes, they're COVID related, but not because of deaths or anything that extreme. Um, there has been, some chatter that there will be, additional cancellations. But then on the flip side of that, there's also been a lot of discussion that we're hitting the peak of the Omicron and we're going to start seeing the downslide here in North America, at least. So I personally don't foresee that we're going to see any more cancellations or things like that. I'm going to knock on wood. Okay, so let's talk about international travel, non-cruise related. International travel is also very complicated. A lot of countries, both in Europe and in the Caribbean, are standing with a vaccination requirement to enter. You have to test to go. You have to have that particular country's travel authorization. There are hoops. Traveling right now is not for the faint of heart. Are the hoops insurmountable? Absolutely not. I sailed with AMA Waterways at the end of August, early September down the Rhine. It was an absolutely magnificent experience. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I had 3 different travel authorizations. I tested even though I didn't have to, just because I wanted to make sure that I didn't go into traveling internationally with a potentially positive test, because then I wouldn't be able to return. The requirement to fly back to the United States from an international destination is that within a 24-hour period prior to your return to the U.S., you have to take a test and produce a negative result. That can be tricky. Is it impossible? No, it can be tricky. I've been working with a client who is going to the Turks and Caicos on Monday. Turks and Caicos, very rigid requirements to get in. She sent me a message, overnight. She got the authorization approved that she could go. We've just been talking about her Delta verification. So is it possible? Yes. We help you navigate all those hoops. And since I have traveled pretty extensively, I know a lot of the hoops personally, and how to best go about making that travel as stressless as possible for our clients. Home testing is an option for many of the cruise lines. You just have to make sure that you read the fine print, and I help you through that, of which home tests are acceptable and which are not. Some countries are requiring only particular tests at CLIA, not the Cruise Line International, but the CLIA lab certification. So we just have to know what your requirements are for your destination. And if you have any questions about travel requirements, actually on our website, and I'm going to punch in our website address really quick. On our website, under extras, there is actually a travel requirement tab, and Cruise Planners, our host agency, updates that weekly. So when there's a new update, it goes into that section. So, if you don't feel like bugging me or any of our associates, or you just want to look to see, hey, I'm thinking about taking a trip, where can I go? And then contact us, whatever works for you. But it's on our website, travel requirements under extras. So check it out. The Caribbean is still extremely, extremely hot. A lot of people have opted not to travel to Europe, but they're going to the Caribbean, which is fantastic. Caribbean's fabulous. As I mentioned, I have a client going to the Turks and Caicos on Monday. I had some clients travel to Turks and Caicos over the summer. A beautiful destination. The two destinations that are very, very hot because they do not require a vaccination to enter are Mexico and the DR, the Dominican Republic. So what's happening with these destinations that don't require as many hoops, we're seeing pricing going up. So for 2022 travel, typically those destinations and resorts that were on the lower price point are now understanding that, hey, so my client, people want to travel, but they don't want to go to an island that requires a vaccination, so they're going to choose to do something else. So the Mexico and Dominican Republic, very hot, but we're seeing prices jumping up, unfortunately. So if you're thinking about going to any of those destinations in 2022, don't wait. Same thing with cruising. If you're thinking about cruising in 2022 into 2023, now's the time. And I'm not saying that from a salesperson perspective. I'm saying that from where I've seen the price points go in the past couple months. Resorts that I would typically consider budget friendly are no longer pricing at a budget friendly point. They're testing more, pricing more at a medium or higher end. So don't wait. If you have a question of which destination requires what, again, feel free to message us or check that travel requirements tab on our website. Do I see changes coming to international travel? Probably not in Q1 and Q2, possibly even not into Q3. Q4, I think the highest point of travel is going to come in the late Q2 and Q3 of 2022. That's just my personal perception of where the Omicron is and the state of vaccination in most countries. I'm dealing with numbers and statistics. I'm not dealing with crystal ball predictions. So I think there might be some alleviation of some restrictions or some lightening. Actually, I'm going to post an article that I was reading this morning, which is good news for our Ireland group that is traveling in July. And it may also be good news from other people who are considering going. So Ireland lifts the pre-testing requirements for vaccinated travelers. If you're not vaccinated, you do have to test, but that's pretty good. I like that. I don't have to go take another test, even though I have vaccinated status, to make that trip in July. Do things change? Absolutely. If that's one thing we've seen in the last 2 years, is that things change every day. Hopefully, they're going to continue to change for the better. So let's talk about something else. I'm going to kind of segue into the holidays. I hope everybody had, wonderful holidays. I followed a lot of you, were doing some super fun things with your families. We had quite a number, we had quite a few clients that opted this year, and it's a growing trend in the travel industry. Instead of doing, elaborate gifts and piles of presents under the tree that the kids are going to forget in a year or two, they opted to travel over the holidays. We had a family of 5 travel to Colorado, and we had a family of 14 that ended up traveling to the Gatlinburg area. And I this week was working on 3 requests for the next set of holidays, all families that are choosing to travel instead of spending exorbitant amount of money on material things. The gift of travel and experiences is a lifetime memory. You know, it your kids, your family members are always going to remember that. I took my 13-year-old grandson on a cruise in the middle of December. It was his first one. Um, I'm hoping he enjoyed the experience. I know I did. Um, and I can say with relevancy that the things that I remember from my youth are not the things that we had under the tree. It was the trips that we took in the Alps. It was the trips that we took to the North Shore of Germany. That we went to, northern Italy. Those are the things I remember. It's so it's a growing trend. Um, I love it. I think it's an excellent idea. Um, and I'm hoping to see more and more of our clients and, people in the travel that are interested in travel, take this approach. The mad face was accidental, Wes. I didn't see a mad face. I think the comments are coming in much slower than what you're seeing. Okay. So holiday trends. So if you're thinking about making that a tradition with your family, and my best advice would be to plan ahead. Don't wait until 30 days before your travel date to make that call. What I'm going to tell you now is what we saw in 2021 for domestic travel: supply and demand. Pricing definitely reflected supply and demand. People chose, people who normally cruised for the summer vacations chose to stay domestic. And that's going to continue into 2022. So, for instance, Florida, the astronomical costs of going to Florida this past summer, it, it was, painful to see and to price for clients. And those domestic destinations that people like to gravitate to, Megan, I love that. Holiday travel, I'm you don't know how much I love that. It just I'm going to put all the heart emojis on that because that is just it's beautiful. Heart emojis and stupid emojis weren't working. Um, but the pricing is going to continue to stay rock hard on a upper level. People are going to stay domestic for a little while longer, and we get that. So be prepared. If you're looking to go to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Branson, the coast of Florida, and you're choosing spring break, summer break, the holidays to travel, your pricing is going to reflect that. And we're going to do everything we can to get you the best possible deal, and we're going to give you options. But we're also not going to deal with AirNib. We don't deal with AirNib. They're not a vetted source. If you choose to do AirNib, that's I'm gonna bless and release. We do deal with many vacation rentals that are vetted and that we trust through different suppliers. And if that's the option you're deciding to go to, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna search. I was searching, I think, 4 or 5 different suppliers this week for different vacation rentals for different clients. Are there ones that I gravitate to because they've been good to work with? They were good to work with COVID. And I've not had negative, I'm going to knock on wood, negative experiences. Yes. But I'm going to make sure that you get the best options. So, holiday travel trending. Absolutely. I'm going to skip to groups. I'm going to segue into groups. I love group travel. So this past summer, I took a very small group, one of our associates and a couple of friends. We traveled to Cancun, stayed in a couple different resorts, had a great time, even though sargassum was a thing. Um, If you guys don't know what sargassum is, it's that nasty seaweed that smells when it washes up on a beach, and it can make the water, an ucky brown. Um, there are some times where the sargassum in the Cancun area, Cozumel area, is a little bit worse. But we managed to have a great time, did some, fun things, had some fantastic food. And so that was my segue into group travel. I've been working on a group trip to Greece since 2020, the summer of 2020. Looking forward to it. It started off as my granddaughter's senior trip. I started building it, had 21 people that were ready to travel to Greece with us. And this week, I spent some time, talking to the supplier, talking to everybody in this group, looking at the restrictions, looking at the trend. And we made the difficult decision to shift that group to 2023. Primary reason being the hoops and the hurdles, the unknown of, what if I test positive in destination? I'm going to, then have to sequester and quarantine until I test negative. And that's cost. It's normally cost that's covered by, a travel protection plan. But, some people still work and they can't miss that kind of work. So it was just, my gut was telling me that, based on the travelers that we had in the group and what everything going on, we're going to pick this group up and move it to May of 2023. Luckily, everybody except one in the group has decided to move with us, so we're super excited about that. Some of them are going to plan domestic vacations in place of the Greece trip. Am I disappointed I'm not going to Greece this year? Yeah, absolutely. I may end up there anyway, but I think it was just the best thing. So if Greece is on your bucket list and you haven't planned for 2023 yet, I'll be releasing the new details about that shifted trip soon. The other trips that we have planned in 2022 that aren't going to move, we're taking a group to the Riviera Maya to stay at the Valentine Imperial Resort in the Riviera Maya in June, middle of June. I'm looking forward to that. There's still room on that trip. So if you have some girlfriends you want to take, or if you're a couple who wants to take a getaway, it's a 5-day getaway to Valentine Imperial. It's a beautiful property, very nicely priced. So if you're interested in that, that's the middle of June. We're doing our trip to Ireland. It's a land package with Trafalgar. That is in July. 2 spots left in that. I'm very stoked about that trip. We'll be working on hotels and flights here in the next coming weeks for that trip. Final payment is not due until March, so we do have some room in that group. So message me if that's one that you're interested in. In August, we have Cruising for a Cause. That is a cruise group. Where is that? Are you talking about Ireland, Wesley? We're starting in Dublin and ending in Dublin, and it's a 10-day land package. I will try to post the pictures of that, or I'll send it to you. How about that? Cruising for a Cause is a cruise group that was organized to benefit Veterans Place in Leesville. It's a nonprofit organization that services the Leesville community, particularly veterans. In July, we have 2 groups sailing to the Western Caribbean on the Carnival Breeze. One is in the middle of July and one is towards the end. The Riviera Maya, the Valentina Imperial, that is on the Riviera Maya, south of Cancun. It's going to be super fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so 2 groups on the Carnival Breeze in middle of July. And in December, I have a group sailing on a holiday sailing on the Adventure of the Seas. It's a 5-day trip on the Adventure of the Seas, Royal Caribbean. and that group is open for booking too. So if any of those 2022 adventures sound fun, let us know. We'd love to. And remember, an escorted group doesn't mean you're my shadow for the whole time. An escorted group means you're getting better rate, a locked in rate. You're getting group amenities. And so, for instance, the land package, we're traveling together and we'll do some of the tours and stuff together. But that during our free time, yes, I like the people I'm traveling with, but that doesn't mean we have to spend 24/7 together. An escorted group is just a great way to travel and get the best options, I think. And groups can be small, like our group to Ireland will only be, is there Christmas parties on board the adventure? Possible, yeah. I mean, everything was decorated on the breeze when we went. Everything was decorated for the holidays, and they had Santa and some other things going on for the kids. It was pretty nice. What was I saying? Okay, and then also in November, Rachel. Yes, just stay away from everybody until you test. That's all I'm saying. My son and daughter-in-law are going on a cruise next week. It's his first one, her second. It's their first vacation alone together in forever and a day. So I'm looking forward to see them travel. In November of 2022, I'm also taking a small group on Ammo Waterways for the Christmas markets down the Danube. We'll start in Vilshofen, Germany, and end up in Budapest. So I read right. Pirates. There are no Christmas pirates. I doubt that highly. Maybe in Cozumel. So Christmas markets. So rolling into 2023, starting the year off, that is my 60th birthday year. I have a group on Windstar, which is a small yacht-style cruise line, and we'll be sailing from St. Martin to St. Martin in the Southern Caribbean, and that is my birthday group. Well, right now, I'm the only one sailing in my birthday group. Becky, are you talking about the Christmas markets? Yes, that is a river cruise down the Danube. We'll start in Vilshofen and sail down the Danube into Budapest and visit Christmas markets along the way. It's a beautiful itinerary, absolutely marvelous. The Windstar Cruise in January of 2023 is a small 352 passenger yacht style sailboat that will sail from St. Martin to St. Martin through the Southern Caribbean, St. Kitts, St. Nevis, and many of the small island ports. But right now, I'm the only one sailing on that in my group. So I hope somebody else joins me, so I'm not celebrating my 60th birthday by myself. That is open for booking, and I hope, that I have some friends that will come along with that. We have a group on the Carnival Vista sailing out of Galveston in April of 2023. Our Greece trip will be in June of 2023. And then we have a New Year's sailing on the Breeze in December of 2023. So some things that we're working on that are in the pipeline. So Alaska. Alaska's hot. It's a great domestic destination. We lived there. It's beautiful. It's a lot of people's bucket list. We're looking at a possible group in 2022 to replace, a trip, the Greece trip, possibly. There's not a whole lot of inventory left. So if we're going to do that, yes, Alex, I'm talking about my 60th. It's a milestone year. And then we're definitely going to do a group in 2023 to Alaska. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Doing a wine cruise. I'm looking at different itineraries. I put out a poll, which part of the Europe you would prefer to see on a wine cruise. And so I've gotten back the Boudreaux, the Bordeaux, I've lived in Louisiana too long, the Bordeaux region of France. So a cruise on the Moselle would be one of the options. And then an Eastern European route to visit wineries there. So I'm still playing with which itinerary I'm going to go with, but it will definitely be a wine group. So if my friends like to drink wine, this would be a great trip to join me on. And I'll finalize that by the end of the month and get that out there. Land travel in 2023 will include Portugal and Croatia. Um, if you've not been to Portugal, it's amazing. It's gorgeous, so affordable. And I may connect that with the river cruise down the Douro. I may not. Um, yes, Alaska. So if you book Alaska, we more than likely will do a cruise group, but a pre and a post is definite. I would highly recommend it. And salmon fishing, we have suppliers that we can arrange. I actually had a client that traveled. It was towards the end of 2020, and he went to Alaska, and we arranged some salmon fishing for him. It's a definite yes. We can help with that. So land travel will be Portugal, Croatia. Domestic travel that we're looking into 2022. We want to do some groups, smaller groups, and put together some packages to Asheville, Sedona, and Vegas. So everybody thinks Vegas, ooh, gambling, but there's so many other things to do and see in the Vegas area that don't involve gambling. Of course, it's a nice perk, but not necessarily what everybody goes for. The Sedona, Flagstaff, Phoenix, Tucson area, it's beautiful. So much to see. Fantastic climate. Lots of spas and resorts. If you didn't know that, it's an area that's heavy in the resort spa. So we're looking at exploring those areas and offering some packages for that. And then the Asheville, that's where the Biltmore Estate is. It's a beautiful area with lots of state parks, great hiking. So that's something that we've had a lot of interest in, is putting groups together or packages together that we can offer a client. Of course, remember, anytime we put a package together, it's with real-time pricing, and until it's deposited, that pricing can shift. And we've seen that. I can price a client's package one day and then 24 hours later go back and the flight has changed or the hotel has changed. So that's happened several times, especially for Hawaii. I have a family that's booked in Hawaii for July of 2022. And then I'm working with one of our families that traveled this past holiday, and they're wanting to go to Hawaii for the holidays. So when we start looking at those options, I'm going to give you the price points that are current. And I'm always going to preface it, until we deposit, that price can shift. Sometimes it goes down. And if it does go down, or you find the pricing available with another supplier, a lot of our suppliers price match. So I'm going to do everything I can to get you the best deal with a reliable and trustworthy supplier. So if there are issues, we can reach them easily to handle any issues. There's certain suppliers that we've learned in the past 2 years we're not going to work with again, or at least not for the next couple of years, because they were so difficult and have been so difficult to work with. I can't tell you the number of hours I've spent on hold with some of them. It hurts, because that time, typically we're not compensated for that time, but we're going to do it to make sure your trip happens with the least number of headaches, and as stress-free as possible, so that it's phenomenal from start to finish. Another thing that we're going to be concentrating heavily on, and I think some of you may have seen the Disney posts that our associate, our Disney specialist, and Universal specialist Melissa Vincent had posted earlier last week. Disney and Universal are hot, and they're pricing hot. The specials are there right now. Melissa spends hours researching those trips and working with you so that you understand the apps, that you understand how to make the park reservations and where to go, what day would be better to do this, and what restaurant is in that park that you should not miss. All those nuances. Disney and Universal are fun. They're phenomenal. but they're not just, I'm going to show up and have a good time. It takes a lot of planning. So the Disney and Universal post that she shared is, you can book a Disney package for as little as $200 down, um, and shift it if needed, add flights if needed. But, the resort and ticket packages, $200 down, and you're locked in. So if you want to do that for 2022, don't wait until 30 days prior, because number one, park reservations are not going to be available. And number two, you're not going to get the best resorts. So the Disney and Universal is something that takes some planning. Typically low deposits. We can always add flights in later, and, think about that. I will say that although there are many destinations, in the U.S., there are some. Yep, Disney is offering $500 off a 5-night trip through early summer right now. That's a great incentive to book early. Thanks for jumping in, Melissa, and sharing that. So make sure, if you've got that in your sights, it's the time to start looking at that now. The other thing I want to say about that, Disney has a cruise line that will be sailing temporarily for just a few sailings from Galveston and New Orleans. Melissa will actually jump on one of those at the end of January, and so watch for her posts and her stream as she sails. I think it's on the Disney Wonder, right, Melissa? Out of Galveston. So she's super excited about that, and she lives and breathes Disney. So if you want that type of trip, she's going to make it happen. Whew. It's been a long video, so almost an hour, and I appreciate everybody hanging in and listening. I want to close this with thank you all for supporting our small business. It's been rough. I'm not going to lie. It has been a rough couple years, and, I'm nothing but tenacious. I love traveling. The passion for travel it's immense. I love it. I love seeing people travel and getting to a destination and texting me or sending me a picture like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. Thank you so much. That's why we do it. And we're going to continue to hold on. We have to make modifications as we roll. The willow is a tree that bends with the wind, and that's what we're doing now. I don't want to use those overworked terms, being fluid and all that stuff. I heard enough of that in 2021, and I'm just ready to approach 2022 with, if you're going to travel, let's do it. Put your britches on, pack that suitcase. Will there be some hurdles? Yes. We're here to help you navigate those hurdles. If you saw my travels that I did from midsummer last year to my cruise that ended in December, it's possible. It's phenomenal. What you're not, tenacious, such a mild term in your context. Thanks, Wesley. The benefit of traveling right now is that, especially on cruises, we're not at full capacity. Besides Disney and Universal, they're both at full capacity. So, you still have those crowds. So you have to know what time of the year to go if you want to avoid those crowds. Traveling is still possible. It's still beautiful. It's still wonderful. So make those plans. Don't put them on hold. Get the travel protection so that if we have to change things, you won't lose your money. I'm going to end this with YouTube. I'm going to be working on that YouTube channel quite a bit here in the month of January, because we don't have too many people traveling. So I'm going to dedicate the month of January to training and pumping up our YouTube channel. We are at 930 likes. We only need 70 more to hit that 1,000. Please help us out. Share. Our Instagram account is pretty busy. Our Google business account is actually one of my favorite accounts. We love when people leave us reviews, especially on Google. If you've finished a trip with us, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. If you have some points to share from your trip that you just returned on in 2021, send us an email. We'd love to set up a time and chat with you. If you're interested in any travel, moving forward, we want to help you. We're here for you. So get in contact with us. We have nothing but time here in January and February. Like I said, I'm not traveling, knock on wood, anytime soon. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you and making some of those trips happen. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be posting this video to our YouTube channel if you've missed it. And we appreciate all of you. The support for our small business is not overlooked. It's very much appreciated, and hopefully we can reciprocate. So thank you all for joining, and have a fantastic Saturday. Megan, Tahoe's gorgeous. I was looking at it for another client this week. So you should try it in the wintertime and try skiing. It's amazing. It's where I learned how to ski way back when. So thanks for joining me today. Hope everybody has a great Saturday. Have a beverage or two, and we will see you all next time. I promise it won't be this, 6 months before the next live video. I was traveling too much. Sorry. Have a great day and happy travels.